Oh, well, I'm going to why I fixed stuff. Today we've got this disassembled Swift. As you can see, it is clearly labeled. This was the other machine that was sent in by one of my subscribers, Nils. He got this apart and ran into some issues and sent it to me. So let's take a look at what we've got here. He said it's missing a part of the mechanism that drives the printer, I believe. There's another video about where I got these machines and unboxed. I sent me 2 machines and a bunch of other cool printed stuff. So there's another video that I did a couple weeks ago about that. You can go watch. I showed the letter that he sent describing exactly the issues were. So we'll start by unpacking this. So what we've got here, looks like the keyboard. You can see the reset lever there sticking out. Let's see if we can open this up. Aha. Okay, so this is a disassemble the keyboard. He mentioned that he took the keyboard assembly apart. I wasn't sure whether he meant the pegboard assembly or this, but clearly it is this. So I'll have to see how we can get this back together. So that's going to be a fun adventure. I'm going to have to get all those pieces lined up exactly in order to go back into the bottom plate, which may be this piece right here. So I'm not actually showing what I'm doing, it might be helpful. Yep, so this is the bottom of the keyboard, and each key looks slightly something on there. Not quite sure what that's about. Comes off, whatever it is. I'll have to clean that up. Not sure what that is. It's interesting. Anyway, so each key has a plunger that when you push the key, it pops out here, and that's what hits a pin on the pegboard. And so if you see the way that these keys are structured, let's pull this one out here. You can see, focus, the key has a spring, it has a peg here, and it has a peg over here. This peg is just going to line up with this hole here, and then either this one, probably this one, this is a longer one, so this one's going to line up with this hole here, and then you've got this one which would be a stop so you don't push the key down too far. So to reassemble this, all of these will have to, there's springs on here too, I'm not sure where those go. All of these will have to line up so that, I'm not sure which key this is, probably, so maybe it goes in this way. That would make more sense probably. Yeah, so you can see, hopefully, if I do this right, you can see this pin in the top goes in here, while the other pin goes in there like that, and yeah, see, then you push the key down, it's going to pop out the pin there. Probably some kind of, this is probably blocking it, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, so there, that was blocking. So this goes down, this was held up like that. When that goes down, then it will allow the, let's try that again, I'll put this back in. Yeah, now I can push the key down all the way, see that? So when you push the key down, this one pops down, that one pops down, and this is going to what's going to hit the pegboard. So to put this back together, we've actually got to line up 2 pins per key. We can fish this back in here. We go in like that. This is 7, 8, and then 9 doesn't push anything. That would make sense. So everything here has to get lined up properly. So this is going to be interesting. We'll set that off to the side for now. The first thing I want to do is find out what the missing piece is. so I know if I have to get material, hopefully I can make it. Let's see what piece we've got here. Oh, these are all the keys, okay, you can see there. We'll just leave that wrapped up for now, we won't need those for later. Here's the rest of the machine. This is the slightly older style, it looks like. Yeah, flat case. So the actual sheet metal looks very similar. This is bigger. Actually, this is plastic, or Bakelite or something. That's interesting. I think it's out of Bakelite. Yeah, the whole thing is Bakelite or plastic or something. Okay, I didn't realize I did that. See the pegboard. This is supposed to be spring-loaded, actually. There might be some issue there. This is supposed to spring. Either it's just stiff. It doesn't really feel too springy though. I'm gonna have to be looked into. This is supposed to spring all the way over. And each time you push a key, it's gonna push down one of these and then ratchet at one position. And there should, without the keyboard in, that should spring all the way over. So it might be something up with that. Let's start by taking the case off. So, let's see if I have a screwdriver here. There's 4 screws that hold the case on. This bottom piece looks pretty much the same as the later ones. So I'll just take out one screw here. Looks like there's a screw missing there. So, not surprising. Usually these old machines like this are missing at least a couple case screws. This one actually seems kind of broken, like the brass insert is broken or something. I'll have to take a look into that. And now, should it come off, I believe. Yep. Yeah, as you can see that the case there, that side is broken out, so that's why that screw came loose right away. And here is the piece, so just the brass insert that the screw goes into, so hopefully we can just glue that back on. Shouldn't be a big deal. Service logo, so this machine has been serviced before, so they don't have a name or anything on it. Alright, so in the last machine, remember we had an issue with this was loose. You can see in this case, this is still pretty solid, so that's good. So what do we see? It actually is kind of spring-loaded. Maybe just a little bit stiff or something before. Yeah, that is spring-loaded, so that's good. So all of these are up. I wonder if this machine is partway through a cycle or something, because those should all be down. So we'll put the crank in. Just get a little it's jammed now. Alright, so it's really jammed, doesn't want to. Nothing wants to move. Alright, so let me look at this for a minute and see why it's jammed, but this is definitely questionable. Why were these all the way up on the machine? Unless that's the piece that's missing, but it shouldn't be, because you can see these rails down in there are, when those go up, these are directly connected to these. So as soon as I push one down, you can see that rail coming back down. So all those rails should be held back when the crank is in the home position. So something is funny there. See if I can get the bottom off of this or something is just, let me play on this a little bit and see if I can figure out why this is super jammed now. So interesting. Alright, so I just moved it a little bit and it actually came loose, although I did take the bottom off. And then I can see the missing piece. So this piece here is supposed to be pulled down in the home position. And actually, if you look, I can get this in here. Sure if you can see right down there. Not really. See that pin right there? There's a pin right there which looks, nice and shiny, like it's supposed to have something writing on it. And then pretty close to that, there's a pin right here. Not sure if you can see that or not, on this piece, which is connected to nothing. And you can see as this moves, this piece moves with the crank. So I'm thinking that this is supposed to be attached to that pin so that this gets pulled down. This is awful stiff too. This should get pulled down when the crank is in the home position. As you can see, that's pulling all of these down because that has a bar, you can see right down in there, that runs across and pulls those down. And as that's happening, these rods are coming out, and these should go all the way down under, to behind the bottom of the pin board there. So, see how far down, that might be all the way down. No, should go down a little bit further. That is really stiff. You know what, actually, it's almost like, something is weird here. Because it seems like now that pin here is against that. I wonder if that's on the wrong side or something. Maybe this rod is supposed to be on the other side of this piece, so that will have to be played around with. And I might take one of my other machines apart to look at it and see how that's set up, to see what exactly is missing there. It's interesting. That might be all the way. These will have a little bit of play. Like these won't go, this piece won't go so far as to push these down against the stop. These will always have a little bit of, you can't really see what I'm doing here. These will always have a little bit of play because when the carry trips, these fall back a little bit. Or, something like that. I'm not exactly sure whether this whole piece moves or just this will. Probably just this moves actually, so maybe these will have to go all the way back against the stop. We'll see. Right now I'm really curious. I'm not sure if you can really see, but actually now the pin on this lever is against this piece, and I think that might be what's binding it. So it's have to figure out how that's supposed to work, unless this is supposed to be up somehow. I wonder if there's like let's take a look on the bottom actually. See if we can push this up somewhat. No, it doesn't want to. Actually, no. We can move this all the way. Probably about all the way down, so you can see there's, actually you can't see because I'm not showing it, so I was just prying here to move that back a little bit more. This might be all the way back. I think it's supposed to be a little bit further back than that. And you can see one of the pins is, you can't see, you can see it now. The pin on this piece is right there, and the pin on this piece is right there. See, if I move that, that starts to move up. So, also this piece here, I'm not sure what that's for. You can see this rise against there because a little wear mark there. So, let me play on this for a little bit more, and then I might take the bottom off one of my other machines and just see if there's some kind of linkage between here and here, or what exactly the deal is. And then we'll have to see what kind of dimensions and everything it has to be. Yeah, that rises up, so I'm thinking that there's just supposed to be some kind of, flat piece of steel with two holes in it, that as that rises up, it's going to pull this with it. So that's going to be the first order of business here, to see if we can make that. Because the machine actually won't work at all without that. It's not just for the printing, it's also for the adding too, because these print stampers here are directly connected to the gears here. Well, not directly, but by a spring. You can see down in there these little springs. So as these rise up, it drives these back, and these are what drive the digits in the accumulator. So without that rising up, the machine won't add at all. So you definitely have to make that piece in order for the machine to do anything. And if we can get that done, then we can turn our attention to this, which will be an adventure. I'm going to play on this a little bit more and just see if I can confirm that, and then probably take a look at one of my other machines, because I probably won't be able to get the exact dimensions of that piece from here. I'll have to see what size it is in the other machines. And it looks like this thing is spring loaded, so it can't just be a piece of wire that goes from here to here to pull it up. It actually has to be a rod. Because this looks like it'll be spring loaded against the piece, which will be pushing against this until you pull the handle, and this rises up, and then the spring probably pulls this up. Because if I release this tab, yeah, see that? That just spring is right up there. So definitely, it's quite a stiff spring too, actually. It's not a, feels smoother now. When I first pushed this down, I feel like it was pretty stiff, but actually I can push it pretty freely now, so I'm not quite sure what the deal is there. Yeah, so they're going to be some kind of long piece of steel with two holes in it that will hold those apart. It will withhold the tension of this spring. Actually, the spring, I was getting stuck on something, so I'll have to figure that out too. Stuck on that? No. Alright, so I'll have to see what else it's getting stuck on too. Actually, looks like the spring tension is probably all of these springs here, which are pulling the rods forward. So it's just the combined tension of all of these springs pulling the rods forward that's pushing this up. What it got stuck on now. There it goes. Interesting. Yeah. You can see this is a ratchet here. And the purpose of that ratchet is so that you can't, if I show that, this right here, there's a ratchet, and that ratchet's in these teeth here. So that the point of that is when you start pulling the handle, it will, ratchet against these so that the handle can't go backwards until you get to the end. And then at the end, this plate goes past the end of the ratchet, and this spring pulls the ratchet up around the other way so that it ratchets backwards, so that you have to return the handle all the way forward before you can go back to start the next stroke. That's pretty common in all of the reciprocating adding machines. So probably enough talking. Let me see if I can figure out what kind of part we need here, and we'll go from there. Alright, so this is the last Swift that we worked on, and something that I noticed already is, see how this one uses stakes here and here to hold the machine together. The older one, which I'm not going to be able to get now because I don't have enough space, the older one actually uses screws. So that's nice. So we have to take that one apart and actually be able to. Anyway, the part that we're interested in is right here. So you can see here's that same lever that goes up, and then here's this piece, and right there is that piece of steel that we're missing. Now, how someone managed to get that out of there, honestly have no idea. Even if it, like one end had broke, the other end should still be attached. So interesting. I don't think we're going to be able to get this one out to get a clear measurement of it, although I would really like to. So let me play around with that for a minute. I highly doubt that's going to come out of there, but we'll see. Oh, I actually was able to get it out. I have a feeling that getting it back in is going to be much harder. But I pulled the handle, maybe about halfway through the stroke, and then just kind of pried the sheet metal pieces apart, and I was actually able to pop it out of there. So this is the top piece, or the top end. So it was like this when I pulled it out. So when it's in the home position, it would be like this, with this towards the back of the machine, and this side facing the crank. Because it actually looks like the holes are not even from the end. And one might be a different size than the other, but it might just be the wear pattern is making it look that way. But at least now we know what we need to make. Hopefully it won't be too hard to do so. We're going to drill these holes, but the hard part is going to be getting this profile. At least it is for me because I don't have machine tools. So see if we can make that, and if we can, then we'll have to fight with two machines to put their piece in, and we can go from there. But at least now we know exactly the size and the dimensions of what we need to make, so that's a good place to start from. Okay, so we know that this is the piece that we need to make. So I've gone out and got this, the 3/4 by, well, if it'll focus anyway, come on. 3/4 by 36 inch, 3/4 inch by 36 inch by 1/16 inch thickness. So you can see the thickness there is 1/16, which is the thickness that we need. See if I can line this up, and you'll see that's right what we need for making this piece. I got the squared tubing because they didn't have any sheets in 1/16 at Home Depot, so we got this. Should be fine. We'll just cut it, right out of the side there or whatever. So that should be fine. So, oops. What I'm going to do is, I don't think it really matters actually which way this goes in if the holes are the same size, unless there's some issue with clearance at this end, because you can see the hole at this end looks like it's further in than the hole at this end. So I'm not sure, maybe there's some clearance issue where there's a piece that comes pretty close to this end here, where if you put it in backwards it'll hit on this larger end. Not quite sure. We'll try to put it back in. We'll try to put this one back in the same way that it came in, and then put the new one in the older machine, the same orientation, just for consistency. So the first thing I'm going to do is mark out and drill the holes, because it'll be easier to drill before cutting it out, since I have this whole thing to hold on to while drilling. So we'll do that, and then we'll cut this out and see if we can grind it, pretty close shape. I don't think it has to be exact, but we'll see how close we can get it, and hopefully that will be what we need. So, see, got that. These were 5 30-second holes. Put this on here. You can hold this, line it up. Lines up just about perfect. I might have to clean up a little bit on the holes, but it will do just fine. So now I just got to trace this out and cut that piece out. Alright, well, it's not pretty, but it doesn't have to be. It would have been a lot easier if I had a bandsaw, but I don't, so I just had to cut it out kind of freehand. But anyway, if we line everything up here. I don't know how to get like an exact angle on it, but you can see that everything lines up. The corners here do stick out a little bit. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I don't think there's anything that's going to run into. So I think that'll do it. You can see this end is kind of rounded more than that end, but I think it'll be fine. I'm not going to worry too much about it. I did, you know, grind and file up the edges a little bit, so you know they're nice and smooth there. Want to get rid of any bows that might, you know, make this tight in between the two plates, because this has to go in between two plates in there. So there's anything that sticks up on here might, you know, cause an issue with it, you know, getting tight in between those two plates. But so that's why I cleaned this all off. But I think it'll be okay. So what I'm going to do is end this video here. Like I said, making these shorter videos now, and you know, 2 days from now should be the next one where we will install this and see what the machine does then. You know, because we can't really try the machine at all without this piece, so we don't know if there's going to be any other kind of issues or not. But so next video will be installing this and see if there's any other issues with the machine, and we do still have to reassemble the keyboard yet. So if you enjoyed this video, look for the next one, and thank you for watching. Welcome to Until I Fix Stuff. Today, hopefully, we will be installing this piece that we made in the last video into this machine right here. So, I've already put the one I use as a template back on the other machine. So hopefully that will give me, doing that gave me a little bit of an idea how to do this. So basically what I did was, this piece here, we want to move this down somewhat. See if I can just release it. I wasn't supposed to do that. We can move this down so that, see, the little nub there is exposed, and then we need to move this. I get the card for that. It's too stiff to move by hand. Need to move this. Well, this piece would move, but maybe not. Yeah, this thing's loose here too. We'll have to fix that. It's down far enough that it should just go on there, I would think. Check, it's the same size as the other hole. There we go. So now that's on there. So this needs to, actually this needs to go down a little bit more, so I can clear and go up. Let's go up in there. There we go. So now you can see I've got my piece on my floating, it will focus anyway. Got my piece on the peg and the other one is floating up in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put it in there to keep it up in there, because see, when the handle comes back down, it's going to try to push it back down. And so now I'm going to flip this over so you can, so I can do this with the camera in there. So you can see, I've used up my pointing device is now jammed in there, but you can see right here, so hopefully you can see. Down somewhere. There you go. So you can see right here is the piece. You can see the peg just sticking out the other side of that. So that's resting on top of that right now. So what we need to do is see if we can, this is the hard part. So this has to come out enough for that piece to go past. Remember from, oh, well, now I've messed up. Now I knocked this out of place. See if we can reset here. So let's pop back down again. It needs to go up in there. See if we can. That's not easy. Alright, let me try this the same way I showed you. So put this in here. Let that. No, it's going to be difficult. Yeah, I'm going to have to try it a different way. For some reason, this piece in here keeps trying to rock out. the other way. See if, here's what we need to do is, I don't see anything. What we need to do is, this piece needs to lift up and over top of that piece, but for some reason it's being difficult here. Let me see if I can put this screwdriver in, see if that will hold it. Alright, so now we've got, we're kind of back in the same place where we got this screwdriver here. You can really see there. So you can see now we're kind of back in the same place where we got the screwdriver here holding it down. So now let me get another screwdriver. Let's see if we can pop this out far enough. See, the issue is it keeps wanting to pull that piece with it. Aha, there we go. So now you can see I've got that peg passed. So what we need to do now is move this up to the point where these pieces will align here. Getting close, getting close. What I'm trying to do now is line up this peg with the hole in that piece, and it should just pop right in, ideally. It's not. Where is my hole? Oh, I'm way out now. Alright, this is going to be hard to do with the camera in the way. So I can't see what I'm doing. There it goes, I think. Yeah, that looks like it popped in now. Right, so let's see if we reset this. Alright, did that complete the cycle? Not quite, something is off. I don't see anything. What am I showing here? Alright, so it goes all the way up, and then it should come all the way back down, but it's not coming all the way back down for some reason. So something is hanging up yet. I'm gonna figure out what it is. See, does this one go back down anymore? It could also be this too. This is not. Should clear at the end, and that's kind of sucks. So I wonder if it's hanging up on the clearing mechanism. So let's try again. Go all the way up. Try and hold it there. So right now we're all the way up. So as we come back down, this thing is really jammed. Let me try. So right here you can see is what tries to clear. Let me pop this out. That's popped out. Are we back home now? No. Not quite. That didn't really help, did it? And if you're always causing, what's keeping this from going all the way back home, I don't think it's this, but it could be. This is actually pretty stiff as well. Let's see if all of these are free. That one's free, free. Aha, this one is not free. That must be it. So let's see. Let's try and go all the way up again. Let's see, what is keeping this one? So I just pushed up, not sure, so I just pushed up all the pegs on the pegboard. Aha, there we go. Alright, so jammed pegs on the pegboard were causing the risers to be blocked from going all the way to the home position, which in turn was blocking the, you can see right here, oh, you can't see, right down here there's this bar here, that pushes all the risers here to the home position, which in turn pushes all these sliders to the home position. But because these pegs were stuck down, it was blocking them. So when that bar couldn't return to the home position, it was preventing this piece, this riser here, which we just attached the piece to, the new piece to, from going to the home position, and that's what was blocking it. Alright, so, and you'll notice here, it looks like we are not locking those in place. I wonder if we have the same issue where, like, see these, how all these line up except for that one, so this one's not in the correct position. Actually, it seems kind of stuck too. Yeah, it actually seems really stiff on there. So we might have to take this register out and see if we can fix that. But for the most part, let's see, let's hold this in the, let's try to get this all in frame. We'll hold this in the home position right about here. See if we can it seems to be working. It sticks sometimes because I have to hold this in exactly the right spot. You can see there's no detents because the keyboard is out. So if I don't hold this in exactly the right spot, it sticks. That's why sometimes I have to pull the handle a little bit and then wiggle this and then get it to go. But that should be fixed once we get the keyboard in. So I think so far we are looking okay. I'm going to take this register out next and see if, you know, what's up with these wheels not wanting to go. But so far it looks like our new piece will work. You can kind of see down there, there's a little bit of space on either side. So maybe the piece that came out of here was a little bit thicker or something, but either way, it's definitely got, you know, good purchase on those pins, so I'm not worried about it. So I think that should be good so far. We also have to tighten this up. This was also, oops, this piece here was also loosening on this screen. This is a friction brake. It tightens right up like that. So you don't pull the handle. I'm not even showing it. I just spun it and it tightened right up. There's a screw in the top that holds it. It screws into the middle piece here. And all this is a friction brake, so it has two weights inside, and when it spins fast enough, the weights fly out and apply a phenolic brake shoe to the inside of this lip here. That's to prevent you from pulling the handle too fast. That's all that is. We'll tighten that up a little bit tighter too. But so anyway, let me look into this, and hopefully then we can move on to the keyboard. So this comes out with a little screw in the side here. I've already loosened this one a little bit. And this should just slide out. And with that out, you should be able to wiggle register right out like that. And see, here it is. So yeah, this one is very stiff. Actually, none of these should be able to rotate right now because this brake should be applied here. I actually wonder if this particular stiff one, shown in frame, is preventing the detent from being applied because it's not 100% lined up. This detent doesn't want to go in all the way either. There it goes. Nope. So it went into some thing bent or something. Some of these are locking, although just barely. These two on the end are not, so that's kind of concerning. See this one, you can see here, well maybe you could if I can get it in frame. All it does is push that little pin there in between the teeth to prevent it from turning. focus. You can see it just, the teeth of the gear then hit on that pin, but for some reason these ones at this end aren't locking, which is interesting. So, looks like there's a little screw in that side. I might just take this whole shaft out and see why this one is so stiff. Yeah, it's just, there we go. Now I moved it and see now now you can really see how the tab went all the way in there to lock it. So now everything is locked. So yeah, this stiff one here was just out of position. It wasn't allowing the lock bar, because you can see there's a bar here with all little fingers on it. It wasn't allowing that to go forward far enough to lock in. So this is only an issue that it's stiff. We'll have to take this apart and see if we can clean it out. So let's see if we can just take this screw out of this side, or if there's more to it. Oh, so, pretty stiff screw here too. I don't know if they go off camera. Let me turn the camera off and do this. Well, I managed to get this shaft out. It wasn't particularly easy. I think because what's supposed to happen is, you can see it's threaded on this end, and that threads into this side of the case, that little hole right there. But even after I unscrewed it, it didn't want to come out. Didn't want to slide out the end. I think probably because the one that's stuck is preventing it from sliding at all. So I kind of had to like spread this a little bit and try to wiggle it out, and I managed to get it out. So see if we can clean this up. So let's angle this down a little bit here on the space. This is the other shaft. So basically, you kind of like the same idea, just a shaft with the threaded end. This is the one that came out of here. But anyway, so we got a spacer. You've got fidget wheel. Got this is just another spacer. Fidget wheel. This is a very sticky spacer, yeah. So, well, if it wasn't a frame, you could have seen how it was stuck to the shaft, and I think that is what is preventing it from wanting to come out. Yeah, you can see how it's really sticky on there. That's preventing the shaft from wanting to slide out. And this is the sticky one. And this one's coming off with its spacer. Oops, knock this off the other end. Be careful here. I want to mess things up, but there we go. So this one will need cleaning up because it's stuck to its spacer, or sleeve, whatever you want to call it. But another one. We're going to have to get all these off. So let me get all these off and we'll clean it up and then put it back together. So I managed to get all of them out. All of them off the shaft and all the spacers out of the inside of here. So I think 3 of them were stuck to the spacers. So we'll get all these cleaned up. So got our shaft. I've got all these cleaned up now. Verified that all these are going to slide nice and easy on that shaft. So the idea is that shaft goes in from this side and it will screw into that side when we're done. But for now, we're just going to, let's see, it shouldn't really matter. This goes in like this. So I should go on like this. I've got a spacer on that side. We've got a spacer here. Put a little drop of oil. Oops, I missed. Right there. Then the fidget wheel should go on here. Spin nice and free. And we'll just continue this process here until we get all the way to the other side. Have to clean up the fidget wheels when we're done because we're probably going to get a little bit of oil on them as we're assembling, but it's going to repeat this process until everything is all installed there. Alright, so I got that back in now. The register goes in the machine right like that, kind of. Like that. So you can see all these are facing the same direction, so that's good. So I'm going to clean up, I did get some oil on some of these, so I'm going to clean that up, and then we also have to reinstall this piece, which is the locks, and that goes, I'm sure it goes right about here, no, this way. Drop in, supposedly, get this pin lined up here. Drop in something like that. It's a little bit difficult right now, but you get the idea. I'll just take this pin out. I'll drop in right like that. Sit on that pin, and then this will pivot back and forth to lock or unlock based on this little focus, this little thing down here. So when the register disengages, there's a pin that slides out here, and it allows this to spring forward and lock. And then when the register engages, a pin slides in here, pushes this back, and unlocks the register for adding. So I'll clean these up and install that. And there's also a spring that goes on to spring load this into the locked position when nothing is pushing on this little tab here. Interestingly, I did find this. Which one do we go see? There we go. Just looks like a piece of thread on this shaft in between two of these digits. So I don't know what that's about. You know, so like how that would somehow get inside here, because the case has a little glass window that covers the register. So I don't see how that could have ever got in there. But anyway, it's out now. I don't think that was the one that was stuck. That was stiff. That was sticky. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But anyway, we finish putting this back together, and then we can pop this back on the machine and do a little adding test. Alright, so you can see how this just sits here and is spring loaded. See that works, and then how this piece down here, and there's a pin that comes in here, will release the lock. And see the spring there. So I put this together was the one end of the spring hooks on here, and the other end goes up over top and pushes down on the main shaft there. So how I installed this was, so I had this in first. I installed it with this end of the spring hanging down here, and then because it's angled that way, it's easy to just push it up, and it springs and latches on top there. So it's pretty simple to install. So all we should need to do now is put this little cover here back on. Goes on like this. And there's a screw in either side. Hold that in place. Do this off camera because it's a pretty small screw, but this just screws in. So there like that, and then same thing on the other side, and then we'll pop this guy back in there. You can see right here, this is that pin that goes into that shaft, and then when you pull the handle, this will, so it moves back and forth to engage and disengage the register. So let's see if we can just fish this back down in there. Should probably move this out of the way. Can do that. It's still not going to cooperate. Okay. I'll probably just take this thing off, so I should do. Came out of there with it on, but it doesn't think it wants to go back in with it on. Let's loosen that up, and it should rotate. Still hitting on something here. There we we go. Should be back in now. Shaft, here it is. So let me just clean up this piece real quick. And this one I just clean up with lacquer thinner. It's really good at dissolving the grease. Just put a little bit of oil on it. So you slide it in. Should get everything lined up here. It's gonna be hard to line up the other side so I can see what I'm doing. No, I can't really. See, does that make it in? I can screw this in now if it's not quite there yet. Oh, there it goes, it's going in now. This, you can't really see what's going on. I have a smaller screwdriver for this. So now, with any luck, if we pull the handle, should add something. Since this is all the way out, it should add all 9s. Added something. Let's see if we can just add all 1s. Just push down. So right now we've got 4790937555. So we should just add 1 to each of those. Now of course this one and that one are going to carry, so, and it did nothing. It's productive. Well, that's because that's 0, that's why. We'll try adding, well, the next one would be 1. Those would be 0, because that doesn't let it move at all. So let's try adding, actually we can do this, we can add all 0s. I'm just going to push this out with my finger. So these will all be 0s, and that should be a 1, so this should go up to 6. And it does. Alright, so that's cool. So let's see if we'll be able to clear this now. It's going to be kind of hard probably without the keyboard, but I just want to see. So I'll move this all the way over to where it'll be like a blank crank. And then see if we can push this down. It's in the right position here. Come on. This one didn't, oops. This one didn't want to come up all the way. Why is that? There it goes. I might have to check into that. Okay, so that cleared it out, so that's good. So now theoretically, we should be able to do something like, let me move this back around so I can have an indication of where I'm at. So if we want to go right to that position, and then we can do 1, 2, 3. We'll see if I can get this lined up just right. Okay, so something is not quite right. You can see it added 1, 2, 3 here, but then all 9s there. So there's something funny not working right yet. There should be some kind of latch that keeps all of those. Let me put this up on its side. That should be these right here. Should these? One of these here. Actually, oh, these are all frozen. That's why. See that? These are spring-loaded back. Can't even move that one. See, there's a spring here pulling on that piece, but it just sticks forward. Okay, so that's going to be a problem. Can you move that one? All right, that shaft's going to have to come out. Don't even know how that's possible. I'll have to look into that. Alright, so what are we going to say about this? Well, we got our first successful add out of this machine, 1, 2, 3, if you discount the error due to that piece sticking down there. I'm going to call it a successful add. We were able to enter a number, obviously not with the keyboard, but with the pegboard, we were able to enter a number and then add it in. So we'll call it a successful add. I'm going to split this video here, and next video we'll look into those sticking, I don't know, what do you want to call those? You want to call them, position latches, because basically how it's supposed to work is, depending on where the pegboard slides out to, it's supposed to release certain ones of those. So it's like if it slides out to here, it should release the first 3 and then have the rest of them all latched in place so that nothing adds in these columns. But obviously because they're all stuck forward, it's not working correctly. To take a look at this and see how exactly that piece comes out. So on this side it's behind here. So you can see the shaft runs all the way through here. That's a shaft that they rotate on. It's behind something here, which may not, not really. Alright, so let me take a look at this one and see if I can figure out how exactly we're going to be able to get that out. It has to come out somehow. Well, as soon as I just didn't pull the handle far enough. I pulled it in a little bit more and you can see it's revealed a little screw head there. So, see if we can. Screwdriver's not going to fit. No. Let me find a screwdriver appropriate for that. Well, so far I've managed to ruin 2 screwdriver bits, and that shaft has not moved at all. So, I think what the issue is these are so stuck on here that the shaft is literally glued to these. So, because these are frozen, I think that's part of the reason why the shaft won't rotate. So what I'm going to do instead is see if I can pry on these to get them loose, and then work some either lacquer thinner or WD-40, so you can see that they are wiggling a little bit with the screwdriver. Maybe I can get some lacquer thinner or WD-40 or something in there to loosen them on the shaft, and then hopefully we can get the shaft off. So let me try that and we'll see how far that gets us. Actually this is locked because of that, that's why. So yeah, let me see if I can loosen those up somewhat. Alright, so that was quite a process. I finally got that shaft out. I actually put it back on the machine so I could test it a little bit because here, so this is that shaft here, and it runs through this piece, and this actually, you can see his little thing that goes up to here. This is the riser for the star key. If you do, I think it's total and subtotal, or maybe just total. There's stamps a star next to the number when it prints it. So this prevents that star stamper from rising up, except for when you're doing total or subtotal or whatever it is. And without the shaft in here, this will rise up and get jammed. So I put this back in to hold this in place so that I could just test it a little bit. Quite a adventure to get this thing out. So there's this piece which normally bolts up on the side here like that, and then the shaft runs through this, and then this hole here is threaded, and that's what the end screws into. At first I thought this was C's to the shaft in addition to these being sticky. So I was trying to, when I was trying to get it loose, it was like I couldn't turn it at all. And I tried to tap a larger screwdriver in there because my smaller ones all, didn't grip properly and just ruined the end of the screwdriver. And when I did that, I noticed that the shaft actually had tapped in a little bit. So I thought maybe I could tap it past the end of this, and then it might free up somewhat. That didn't happen. I did tap it past the end of this. There's some space in here. I actually took a piece out to make more space. You can see. I actually took a piece out of here. You can see there's a shaft. There's a pin here that a lever goes on. I actually took that lever out to make room for the shaft to slide in. Past the end of this, that didn't make any difference. So what I ended up doing was just applying tension on the screwdriver and then one by one pushing these around. I soaked everything in WD-40 and just ended up like pushing each one by one, push it a little bit, rotate the screwdriver, push it a little bit. Because you don't get enough force on the screwdriver to rotate it past the stickiness on all of them, but you can hold the screwdriver in one position and then push each one of these past its stickiness just a little bit. And after a while of doing that, the shaft finally freed up and I could unscrew it and take it out. But definitely took quite a while. So now that all these are out, I've already cleaned up the shaft with some lacquer thinner, I'll probably clean it up some more. I'm going to clean up all of these. See, it's probably kind of clean-ish already because I had rotated around that shaft with the WD-40 on it, and then the whole shaft slid out of there. So we'll clean all the WD-40 off of these. You don't want to leave WD-40 in machines like this because over time it will dry up and glue everything back together again. So we have to clean all the WD-40 off of this, clean it all out of whatever I sprayed in there. And then we should be able to put this back in and hopefully we will get correct adding after that. But yeah, quite an adventure to get these out. And so you've got a little spacer there, and then the side of the frame, and then another spacer on the inside, and then the pieces, which probably want to make sure that you get them like in between the right spring where they go. Otherwise, it's going to be trying to flip the springs over top of these, and that's going to be pretty annoying. So I just put like a little bit of oil on as I go here and there. Just a little drip here, a little bit on there, and we'll put this back together here. I'm putting these in the right way. So you can see here how the little lips up there ride on the bottom of this, which is the bottom of the pegboard assembly. So when the pegboard slides over, it pushes these down and then releases that column for adding. And then when the pegboard is not over far enough, the springs hold these up and lock the column so it doesn't add anything. You notice that there's one spring here which is kind of stretched out. I'm not quite sure what happened there. So one of the springs is stuck up in here, it seems. Let's see if I can get that out. There you go. So I want the springs to be like all the way up inside. I want them to be accessible so I can just hook them right up once I have all these in. So continue putting these in, and then we'll hook it up and see if it works. Alright, so you can see now how that goes back in, and now all these are spring loaded and free, like they should be. Yeah, that's been a little bit messed up there, but it should be fine. The one that was really messed up, I cut off the messed up part and then just bent out the last ring to go in the holder, so that should be fine. This is also spring loaded as well. I still have to put the dampener mechanism back on. I've taken that out to get this shaft out of the way, or this rod out of the way, to move this over like I described earlier. So I still have to go back in yet, but let's see if we can do something here. So I'll move this all the way over. Get to engage. It's right there, let's see. Well, still didn't quite work, did it? something is up with, this is just how I have it sitting. Those are not blocking these from working, so something is still not quite working here. Okay, so let's see, unless it's just the spring tension is not enough. It should be engaged though. They're just not going up high enough. It's interesting. Alright, let me take a look at that for a minute. Alright, so I figured out my issue was I had this piece, see how it bolts on there? I had this piece bolted in slightly wrong position, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but right down in there, you can see that a piece of, let's see, right there's the bolt, and then the piece goes up, over, and then up to here, but there's a cutout in there for a shaft running through, kind of see it right there, there's the shaft going across, and I had this bolted, angled down a little bit too far, so this piece was hitting against the shaft and preventing this from going all the way up. Preventing this from going all the way up to engage with the, there's little tabs on the bottom of these risers, not sure I'll be able to see it. You can see like sticking right off the bottom there, there's a little tab sticking off the riser, and that's what catches on these pieces down here. So they spring load up and stop those tabs unless the pegboard slides over and releases them to allow the riser to slide up. So now this is in the home position, which should be right about there. Yep, now we don't add. So that's good. So see if we can do a total here. So I'll push this down and hold that. And it almost worked. 6 didn't clear out. See if we can try it once again and see what it's up with. 6. Why is 6 stuck? So what's supposed to happen for a total is it's supposed to release. There we go. Maybe. It's supposed to release all of those. No, not really. Alright, push the total off on that time. So when it does a total, it's supposed to release all of the tabs there. Not sure if you can. There's one here that sticks up higher than the others. Wonder if that's number 6. So which one is that? That's this one. It's still not going though. So doing this time, it's supposed to be allowing these to rise up. For some reason it is not rising up. It's interesting. I'll have to figure that out, but let's just try, see if we can do, so let's put this all over, we can do 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so now I added 1, 2, 3, didn't add anything else, we still got that mystery 6 thing we gotta clean up. Push more of these down, or I pushed too many down, that's fine. It'll stop at the zeros. Let's try, let's see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we can do, let me 7, 8, and then 9 will be nothing pushed down. Push down all the zeros. 9. And now we can do 9, 8, 7. So all the zeros. I think carry is messed up. It didn't carry over. Let's see, 8, 6, 5, 4. And then 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's wrong. So something's still messed up here. Of course, that didn't help. See if we can total out. Yeah, everything is good except for this particular one is sticky. That was wrong. Let's try that again. There we go. Maybe I didn't hold it down long enough. I wonder if that's my issue. Maybe I have to hold down total the whole time. It's still not wanting to release, so. Alright, so I was able to figure out what's up with that one. And looks like something's up with carrying too. I didn't even add it in that column though, unless I messed up somehow, which is possible. So I got a few things to play around with. Let me play around with. So one thing is carry is not working properly. And this one column is not totaling. So when we discovered that carry was not working, and so I've taken the register back off, and you can see these things here are the carry trips. But I didn't realize when I looked at these before, because see, these are free and nice and springy. But actually how the carry works is, as you can see, when you push this, nothing happens here. What's supposed to happen is when you push this is supposed to spring forward to drive the next position 1 digit forward to give you your carry. But you can see when I push this, nothing happens. And what's supposed to happen is these pieces here are supposed to be spring loaded so that when I push this is supposed to spring forward, and it ain't moving. So it moved like a little bit because, yeah, it moved a little tiny bit because this didn't come all the way back up. This one here, see it moved a little bit, it's supposed to move like that. And see how that moved 1 position forward? That's how your carry is supposed to work, but these are really stiff. So, hope I didn't just miss something up there. Oh, that one's stuck. Oh well. So these have to all get freed up. See, it resets there. So that's supposed to spring forward, and then on the next crank, see it resets it, so it just pushed it back up there. That's why you have to do a blank crank before totaling to reset those, in case there were any carriers on the last operation. So we need to figure out what shaft those pivot on. Looks like it's kind of far down in there. Let's see if we can get a look here. Actually, yeah. We don't see anything from the bottom. What way? So those are the sliders. These I think are for totaling. So these I believe are the 0 suppression for totaling. But I'm not seeing that. So let me take a look at that for a minute and turn the camera back on once I found what shaft those pivot on. So I took out the trip levers that were on top here. That's another one of these threaded shafts, and then see these have a little hook on here on the bottom that takes a spring, and the other end of the spring goes to these. So these pieces and the actual carry releases are spring together. And the shaft that those ride on, you can actually see this nice shiny piece right here? Well, underneath that, you can see the end of it there is the shaft that those ride on. So it looks like this shaft here is like a reset or something, I guess, maybe. Because that actually moves back and forth. You can see the end of it moving there as I wiggle this piece. There's another piece on the other side that's supposed to move the other end, but that one seems to be completely frozen. Can't get that to move at all, and these are all really stiff on here. So the issue is that these are also on a threaded shaft, which is behind this piece. So if I move the handle out, actually I'm going to be able to get at it. It would be right up in there. Not sure if you can see the end of it sticking out behind this. So I'm not even sure how we can get at that. Unless this... No. Maybe what we would have to do is take this screw out, take this piece out, and flip it over backwards, and then maybe we could get at that when the handle's out, but it's really annoying. So I'm going to see... some of these are really, really frozen. So I'm thinking the shaft is going to have to come out, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. This doesn't seem like it's going to be particularly easy to take out. And because even if I get these loosened up by like wiggling them, I still have that piece down there that's frozen. So I'm going to play around with this for a little bit and see what I can come up with. But definitely this is the source of our carries not working. Alright, well I got it out. You can see these are the pieces there. You see this is the tab that latches in the trip mechanism. Like that. And then when this trips down, this springs forward, and this releases a little knob. So you can see right there, there's a little knob that pushes against this foot, and when this lifts up, that allows these to spring forward. You see how they're springing now? So these are all sprung forward because these are removed. But normally they would be held back like this with pressure against that knob down there, and then when the carry trips, it springs forward, driving the next digit one position forward. So how I got this out, I kind of did the same thing I did before, where I kind of like worked on each piece individually and got it loosened up. See, this one doesn't spring forward because that one doesn't have any carry. That's the first column, so you never carry to that. But anyway, I kind of like worked each piece loose, lots of WD-40 and working each piece, and got every piece loose, and then spun the shaft out. Where you can see I kind of messed up the end there a little bit, or a lot. So I'll have to cut a new groove in there before I screw this back in. Not sure how I feel about this. These threaded shafts that they use here. Normally machines will just have a shaft that goes in, and then they'll have like a C-clip or just a piece of wire clamped around either end to hold it in. This is kind of, never really seen this kind of construction before with these threaded shafts, but either way, it's going to be hard to get it out when all the pieces are frozen to the shaft. So I don't think this is really any better or worse than just having a straight shaft with C-clips in, because even on the straight shaft with C-clips in, you can take the C-clips out easy enough, but the shaft is still going to be glued, inside all the pieces. So I don't know. Either way, the downside of this though is it's pretty easy to mess up the end like that. When you're applying so much force to the tiny little screw head, which you can't do on a C-clip shaft because there's no screw head to apply force to. But anyway, I guess just like the only thing I can say is that it's more tempting to do something like this that would damage the parts on these threaded shafts than it is on a C-clip shaft. But anyway, we'll get all this cleaned up, got a new slot cut in here, and hopefully when we put this back together, we'll have carries then. See up there, I've got all the parts cleaned up, shaft cleaned up, and a new hair on it. new slot cut there, so that should work fine. Screwdriver. So we're just fine for screwing and unscrewing. So it's going to be really hard to reassemble because the machine has to be all the way forward in order for this to go in. So it goes in right here. So it's not going to be easy, but let's see. The spacer goes on. Slide this back a little bit. Also goes all the way down inside the machine. Still can't see it. I can see it. If we can assemble this here, which the camera's going to be in the way. So that one goes on. Applies some oil. Then this piece, there's some oil to that as well. And this piece has to get fished down around this is not going to be easy to do here. Alright, I might have to pause the camera for a minute. We can get this lined up here. There we go. Well, it did happen for a minute. Pop back off again. Come on. Well, it was on for a second, and then it came off, and now it won't go back on. Now it's on. Will it stay on? Advance this. Okay, now it's on. I think that is the right position, but it has to be on the other side of these. I can just slide it over later, I think. Anyway, so what that does is that spring-loaded back, I'll be able to show it here, and it's hitting something on there, so it's not annoying, so I'll have to put that, I'll turn off the camera to fiddle around with that, but basically, here's the one for the other side. That is spring-loaded up, and then there's a cam that rides on here that pushes it down. And then in between those two goes this shaft, just like that. And then that shaft, I believe, is what resets the carries every cycle. So that's still not annoying. There's a piece on the bottom that's down too far. I have to get it on the other side of a frame support down there. But basically that's the idea. And then all of these will go on kind of in there like that, with, of course, on the shaft, of course, but you got the idea. Alright, so I managed to get this shaft down there back in. You can see these are all nice and free now, like we like it. So you can also see these pieces here, how they're spring-loaded, and then each half of those push on that shaft. And there's a cam on the bottom of this piece here that pushes down on that, and that pushes all the carry chips forward. So the next thing to go in would be the shaft up here on the top. I'll have to then clean up all the pieces for that. So I'm going to clean up those pieces, and then we'll stick the shaft in the top. Alright, so all those pieces cleaned up. These are just those little tappy things there. Something I also wanted to mention, I forgot what I was going to say. What I also wanted to mention was this. This has to go in here with this funny looking spacer. Oh yeah, what I wanted to mention about this was, in order to get all of these in, I had to set all zeros on the keyboard and then pull the handle all the way down, and then that keeps these from coming back, which gives space to get these in, because if you just let it go, adding all 9s, these will all come back and you won't have enough space to wiggle these things in there. So you know, if your machine is like this, with no keyboard on it, you have to set all 0s on the pegboard in order to get all these pieces back in. I wouldn't recommend taking this shaft out unless you absolutely have to. It's very difficult to get the pieces in and out buried down there, especially like over here on this side. There's a spacer way down in there, right up against the side of the, like this wall here. So it's very difficult to get that lined up and then get the end of the shaft lined up with the hole to screw it in. But anyway, so this should hopefully be a lot easier than that, because we don't have to hold on to the handle the whole time. We can start sticking pieces in. So we got a spacer there. Take one of these. Actually, put a little bit of oil on here. And how I'm going to do is, as I put these in, so this has to go underneath, like, well, I thought this was going to be easier. We can push that forward. This has to come up. It's not going to be as easy as I thought it was going to be. I just have to go in here. Just can't really see anything, I'm just seeing the back of my hand. See if I can. Okay, I'm gonna have to fight with this for a little bit until I figure out a good way to get these pieces in. Because I have to go under here. I don't think I can just, maybe I can do that. There we go. Okay, that works. Although I think this is not correct, because this should, I wonder if I'm missing a spacer or something, because this is too much space here in order for that to work properly. So let me see if I'm missing a spacer or something, because it's not going to work like that, not with all this extra space there. That was my mistake. There's this funny shaped one which has this little tong on it, and an extra wide middle piece there. That was on this end. Just a little bit of oil on that, and then it should just drop right down in there. Maybe. Okay, this spacer must not go here then. Let's take this spacer out. That goes in there, and then let's see if we can get one of these other ones on. Just apply some oil, and then see if we can. Now it should just drop right down in. Yeah, it looks good. Not much free play there. So now I gotta hook the spring on the bottom of the piece there. Make sure I get the right one. This spring is for the next one. The spring that I need is this one over here. See if we can't. That and down like that. Why is this so low now? For some reason, there we go. That should be right. feels funny though. You should want to spring like all the way forward. And something's not right there. This should want to swing. This should want to swing all the way over. This one to go all the way forward. That's not going all the way forward for some reason. Let me figure that out. Okay, mistake number 2. This hole is for the shaft that the register goes on. This hole back here is for the shaft that these should be going on. So we'll just carefully slide that out. Slide it back to here. And retry. Now, there we go. That looks good. So now, theoretically, if this was like, yeah, wait, hold on. So if that was like that, then this should trip, and then it springs this forward. It's kind of hard to demonstrate with everything all loose like this, but it looks like it should work. Okay, so that's how these should go in. I can demonstrate once more, maybe. There, so see, that's like that. And then this is held back, and then when this trips, that springs forward to drive it one position forward. So that seems like it should work. So let me fill around getting the rest of these in, and then hopefully we can put the register back in, and we should hopefully have carry. Alright, so I finally got all of these back in, spacer in there, and that spacer that I had over here earlier actually goes in between this funny shaped one here on the end and the next one there. Actually, I wonder what's up with this one. What's it supposed to do? I don't know. Anyway, so theoretically, now I pull the handle, it jams. Why is that? All those are free. Alright, let's see why it jammed. Alright, so the issue was I had the spacer in the wrong place, so the spacer actually goes over here, added over here, and what that was causing was this piece when it rises up, because this is hit by the, I'm not quite sure what this does, I'll have to look into that, but this gets pushed up by the bar that rises up, that lets all these risers rise up, and this piece when it came back was hitting right here, and that's what was causing it to jam. So got that fixed. I'm actually not sure if this is supposed to be pushed by something. I don't think it really matters a whole lot, but anyway, so now I'll put this at 0. Can find 0. Where is 0? There. So it completes the cycle properly, and now theoretically, if anything had carried during the cycle, should be able to trip and see it jumps forward one. And now on the next time, it should reset that. And it does. Alright, so that's working. So let's see if we can quickly pop this register back in. We still have the issue with the register, with one of the positions not, oh, I just tripped all the carriers there, but that's fine. We still have the issue with the register with that position not clearing out on total, so I still have to look into that. Slide this in. The other side. Well, there maybe something right there. Sure if that's all the way in yet or not. I don't think it is. But it's pretty solid there. No, that's not all the way in. But where do we need to go? Let me see if I can get this in. Alright, so now the register is back in. So theoretically, we should be able to do a blank crank. If I can get this lined up properly. Now we should be able to total and clear it. Okay, so it mostly worked. Something is still funny over there. Just for fun, let's try all zeros except 4. 1, 2, 3. That was 1, 3, 3. Why did that happen? Let's try clearing out again. Why is this messed up? I have anything pushed down there. Alright, now the pegboard is mysteriously jamming. See what's up with that. As soon as the issue there was that the handle hadn't returned all the way home for some reason, and that was causing the these releases here to not be pushed down all the way, which was jamming against the side of the pegboard. So it's free now. So let's try this again. Enter all zeros except 4. 1, 2, 3. Should be right. So let's see. Right, got 1, 2, 3. Enter all zeros again. Except 4, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All zeros again. 4, 7, 8, and like I said before, 9 doesn't have one. Now we'll do 9, 8, 7. All zeros for the rest. And then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 5, 4. All zeros. Then let's see, 3, 2, 1. Something's not right there. That should be 3330 instead of 3319. So it could be they entered something wrong. It was all 9s, that didn't help. I'll try it once more. And now we're jammed again. Great. I got to complete one total, and then it seemed to do fine after that, so we'll see. So there's something else that we missed over here I have to figure out yet, because that's why this one isn't clearing. That extra funny shaped carry chip is what comes up and stops this wheel from going past 0 when you total. So something is not engaging that. We have to figure that out. But let's try this again, see if we can get it correct this time. So we'll do all zeros except 4, 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, and then let's see, 1, 2, 3, so 3, 4, 5, 6, and all zeros again. Then 7, 8, 9. Then we do 9, 8, oops, 8 here. Just that up. 8, 9, 8, 7. And let's see, there were 7s, so that'd be 6, 5, 4. And then 3, 2, 1. Alright, so now that's correct. So maybe I was just entering it wrong. I'll have to, double check and make sure that it's going to be reliable. But so that's our first successful adding. Just first successful addition. So let's see now. We'll do a blank crank. We'll try totaling, clearing it out. And it didn't work. Probably because I let go of this too soon. You have to hold this down the whole. There we go. So that cleared out. Of course, this is still messed up, like I said, so you got to figure that out. And that middle column is still sticking. I got it unstuck this last time, but it's still, something's causing it to stick, so that's why it's a 0. So this last column turned out to be just, this piece was supposed to be spring-loaded. I've forgotten to put the spring back on from down here over to this post right here. So that's been rectified. I had to take the register out, I had to take this shaft back out in order to get the spring hooked back on this piece, because there's the hole for the spring is on that tab that's put down underneath there, and there's no real way to hook the spring on there when it's in place, or you just really can't get at that hole. But a new issue has developed, and that is this carry tab here doesn't, no, not that one. This other one here doesn't reset, and the reason is, if I can clear this out real quick here. You can see, well, now for some reason 2 of these didn't reset. I'm not sure what that's about. But this one, I don't know, the other one should work. Well, something is funny with that then, but anyway, this one here doesn't reset because this little tab broke off the bottom of it. I have no idea how that managed to happen, because there really shouldn't be any stress on that tab. All it does is sit against, the bottom, well, now I'm just releasing all of them. All it does is sit against the bottom tab on one of these things and prevent, rest against that spring tension. And it's not a great spring tension, so I'm really not sure how that happened. Actually, none of these want to reset now. What's going on here? I don't think the register has to be in for those to work properly. So I have to look into that. But anyway, that definitely has to get fixed. Otherwise, none of the carries past this column will work properly. So a couple of options that we have. One would be we can just blank out this half of the register and only have, 4 columns. I really don't like that idea. The other option is we can try and reattach that back on, which I think is what I'm going to go with. I don't really see any other option. That tab goes on the bottom of these pieces with the teeth in them, and I really don't see a way that I could make this piece with all these teeth cut in it. It would be clearly difficult to make and very time consuming. You have to file out all those teeth, so I don't think that's going to work. And even if I had facilities to do that, I'm sure if you can see, but the end of this shaft here, sure if you can see down there, there's a pin behind here. So that's actually taper pinned on. So with that being taper pinned on, why this is being so... Yeah, with that being taper pinned on, I don't really see how I could get that off, because to drive that taper pin out, the only thing you really have to hold this by is these sheet metal pieces here, and I think that would, be damage inducing to them trying to pound that pin out while you're, resting it on here. So what I'm going to try to do, which I've already tried to investigate, you can see I took the patent off the back, and I started taking out these spacers here, you can see I take most of them out. So if we see if we can see it. Where's my pointer? So you can see here's a tab, and there's the missing one. So to see if we can, I'm going to try and solder that back on right there, and hopefully it should work. Like I said, that's not a high stress part, so really there shouldn't be any issue with doing that. So we'll just have to try it. I'll clean it up and see if I can solder that back on, but I really have no idea how it broke off in the first place. It's very strange because, you know, there's nothing there. It just goes up in between the risers there, and then when it comes back down, it just rests on the end of those tabs like I showed before. So kind of weird. I really don't know how that would have broken off, but let's see if we can reattach it. Okay, so it has been a while since the last part of this video was shot. I think I shot the last part of this video in December, I think, and it is now August. Reason is, I think before I mentioned the issue that came up was one of the tabs that stopped the carry trips had broken off, and I don't know if I showed a video, but I started to disassemble the machine to get to that, to see if I could solder it back on. And then I started wondering if it was really worth it to try and do that. I wasn't, not really sure how long it's going to last anyway. And I buried so deep in the machine, if that breaks off again, then you have to disassemble the whole thing and try and solder it back on again. So at that point, I put the machine in the back of my closet, and it's been kind of sitting there ever since while I debated whether I wanted to go any further with it. And then this came up on eBay. So this is actually a different machine. It's not a complete machine. You can see somebody's taken some parts out of it. The keyboard, most of the keyboard is not present. This is the bottom plate of the keyboard. So this would actually be, this would be down like this. I think this would be down like this, maybe like that, something, not sure. Anyway, this would be down like this, and then the keys would be on top of here, pushing down through this, I believe. No, maybe it goes this way. I think it does go this way. It goes this way. The keys would be in here, pushing down through those slots, and these are the actual locations of each key, and these are just the plungers to push down the pegs on the pegboard. But it does not have any of the keys, and does not have the top of the keyboard. It does have the case, and I think this case actually is in a little bit nicer shape than the case on the machine we started with. I think that one, part of the hold down for this was broken, I think, on that. This one's still intact, so this is fine. We got the nut for that. The case, so this screwed down. No, it's not. No, nothing is screwed. Okay. That goes to the case. I think on the other one of these brass inserts was broken out. This one seems to be okay, but it's broken back here, so I'm not sure which would be easier to fix. And this is the piece for that. It's like this piece was pushed in. Now I have pulled the handle on this just to verify that it's not jammed, and it's not jammed, but that's as far as I got with the testing on here. So we need to see if this chassis, whatever is here, how complete it is, and if it has any issues that would prevent it from adding. And if it doesn't, and I just noticed there's another spring here, so that's not sure where that came from. Hopefully those are just the key springs. I'll set the keyboard. Hopefully those are just the springs for the keyboard. The other machine has all the parts for the keyboard, so I'm confident we can make one good machine out of the two of those. At least I'm hoping we can, assuming there's nothing majorly wrong with this assembly. So we can probably take this out of here and have a look at the bottom here. So, yeah, okay. Nothing stands out. This is the that brake. Nothing really stands out just looking at that. We can try adding and see. If we hold this all the way over, we get blank crank. I don't remember how to total this out. I'm gonna have to play around with it, but it's been so long since I actually worked on these machines that I kind of forgot exactly what does what. Well, something is doing something. I'm going to play around with this for a little bit and remember exactly how to total this out. So this way is not jammed. If I push down on this, then it does. Looks like it's adding 9 all the time, so figure out. What's up with that? Alright, so let me play around this for a little bit and see what the functionality is. I want to get this cleared out so we can try adding. I'll have to remember which of these to push down to do that, if that's even working, because it may not be. So let me play around with this and we'll see where we are. Alright, I think I got it now. So this one, if you push this down, is total. If you just push this down, I think it's subtotal or something like that. Anyway, by pushing this down, holding this in the home position and pulling the handle, I was able to get it to clear out after a couple of tries. So might be a little bit sticky, but anyway, it's reading all zeros now. So let's try entering something. Let me get. Alright, so I was able to get this to total out by pushing this down. Not sure this is total, this is subtotal, or anyway, by pushing this down, I was able to get this to total out. So it's all reading zeros now. So let's see if we can add. It's going to be spring loaded, so the keyboard is what holds this in the home position, so that's why it keeps springing out. So let's try doing 1, 2, 3. Get this lined up in the third position. Right, so there we go. 1, 2, 3. And do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, 7, 8, and then 9 is just nothing entered. Right, so then 9, 8, 7. And then let's see, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And then 3, 2, 1. Alright, so you can see that is correct, 3, 3, 0. So, ideally, if I hold this over here, like this, and hold this down, and then it clears out. That totals out. So, so far so good. So let's try entering all 9s and see if it carries all the way across if I add a 1. So, well, it's a bit stiff, I'll have to oil that up. But I did add all 9s, and now if I just, in the first position, add a 1. And there we go, carried all the way across. That means all the carries are functional. Now if I do a blank crank, yep, it resets and doesn't do any extra carry, so that's good. Okay, so, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is just oil this all up, make sure that it's going to operate freely. You saw it kind of stuck with all the 9s, so that's probably just some dry grease in there somewhere. Could be weak springs too. I'm going to start by assuming it's dried grease. If it is weak springs, maybe we can seal some springs from the other one. And then I need to reassemble the keyboard from the, see what parts I can use from this and what parts I can use from the other machine. I'll have to straighten out the paper holder since that got bent in, but yeah, so far this is looking like a good candidate. Assuming nothing breaks off of it like what happened with the other one. I still don't understand how that could have possibly, how that carry tab could have possibly broken off. Doesn't really make any sense to me, but anyway, hopefully now we can move forward and get at least one working Swift machine out of those two. So yeah, I'm going to start oiling that up, and I'll get the parts of the keyboard out. As you can see, I brought in, I think these should be all the parts we need out of the old machine. You can see this is the bottom of the key plate, so if I turn this up with hope without dropping anything, you can see that's where the top of it, the green part that faces up, where the keys go on, the key stems here, and well, there one fell out anyway. So I'm going to check out these springs, make sure they're all good. If there are any that look questionable, I'll just take it from the other set right there. So that's that. This is this same plate here. Off the top, I don't really see any differences, although I see this one has springs on it, so not sure if those are included in the bag or not. Either way, I'll probably just use the one from the old machine just because it was paired with that key plate. Not that it should really make any difference, but you know, shouldn't hurt. Yeah, those look like they should be finished the same, so I'm sure those will, either one will work, I'm sure. So that's that. And then these are the keys. I think they're all there. Let's see, 1, 6, 5, 0, 2, 4, 8, there's 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, looks like that's there, and then we've got total, not sure what that is, repeat, subtotal, this might not belong, it might be from something else, I'll have to say. I don't think that one belongs here. Anyway, I bought out this pan too. I was thinking about swapping out the base pans since this one's bent, but I don't know what happened to the paper holder for this one. You see, this is a different style. This one, you can see is riveted on here, and it got bent up in. So it shouldn't be a big deal to just bend it back out, I'm sure. I just thought, you know, if this is good, may as well use it. But this one's a different style. You can see there's no rivet holes back here. There is a slot cut in here, and it looks like whatever the paper holder is slid in and then tightened down with this thumb screw. But I don't know what happened to it. I didn't see it with the rest of the parts for the machine, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. So we'll just bend this one out and go with that. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting job to reassemble this. You've got to line up, not only got to line up these pins, the pins on the bottom of each key, you can see with the spring on them, have to line up with the associated holes in this plate, but at the same time the pins in the middle here have to line up with their corresponding hole here in this row. So that's going to be a fun one. But yeah, so just got to oil this up and make sure that's going to work smooth, and then can get on to keyboard fun time. Alright, so the keyboard is back together. Hopefully correct. There's still a few issues to work out. Some of the keys are sticky, like this one sticks sometimes. Not hard, but it's not going to ratchet properly when it's like that. Generally, these are just a little tap pressing on the key, I'm not going to loose, but I don't think it'll ratchet properly to ratchet this over if it sticks like that. So I gotta work on that. 8, sometimes 6 too. The rest of them seem okay, and you can see each key you push, a little corresponding pin pops out there to push one of the pegs on the pegboard. These are the control keys, so this is repeat, I believe. That just pushes this little thing down. It shouldn't latch, I think. I have that in the wrong spot. Hopefully not. I have to check that out. Not sure what exactly. I don't think so, because it didn't match with this, so I think that's in the right spot. That should latch, I think. Oh, there it goes. That's when I'm pushing it down hard enough. Yeah, okay, so that's fine. Let's repeat. These ones, this latch here has to be pulled a little bit forward, and they can push down and they latch. And then error will reset them. At least it should. There it goes. Not sure why it was. It should release that. And then this one I think is the total key. Oops. Latch all the way. Yeah, so that resets that. So yeah, there's a few issues to work through. So how I put this back together, obviously it was, you know, inconvenient, not a very easy thing to do. I left all of the keys in the top plate like they were, and then I laid it like this and then set this on, and then I started by working the top row in first, and then put one of the screws in just to hold, you know, get some of these keys held in place. And then I think I started working down one side, got that side lined up, and then put the screw in this corner to hold that down. I think I'll probably put the screw in the top corner here to hold that, and then kind of work the rest of them in. The hardest ones were this one and this one, the one that's sticking that I still have to fix. Reason being, they don't have outlets. Actually, no, it would be this one and this one. These two keys don't have, the bottom of the key stem doesn't come out a hole like this. Actually, I can show right here. They have these two things here that they go into, and then a spring goes around this. Those were the most inconvenient because, for one thing, you can't see, like on these ones, if this key is out, like if this key stem is over, you know, you can wiggle the key around and wait till it passes the hole and see to line it up. With those ones, you can't do that. You have to kind of look in from here. You can see how it goes into that little bushing there, whatever you want to call it. So those two were annoying, but got everything in. Hopefully it's right. I think it should be right. Everything pops out the bottom like it's supposed to. However, I did notice another issue, which I didn't notice at first. If you notice, this keyboard is held on by 4 screws. There's a screw in each corner. However, if you look at our machine, there are no screw holes here. And that is because this is actually a slightly later chassis. The earlier chassis had the pieces of the frame here were folded over and then had little screw holes in them. This doesn't have that. This has, you see, these have little cutouts in there. And the later style keyboard, instead of having screw holes, has slots here that set down over top of those, and then there is almost like a little spring piece of steel that you slide in on top of the keyboard, and then that spring piece of steel has one end that goes in here and in here on top of the keyboard plate, and that's what holds it in. So since we don't have that plate, like I said, this machine didn't come with the keyboard plate or any of the keys or anything, so we don't even have a plate that we could, you know, swap out and use that plate. We don't have that. So one option would be to make a keyboard plate, which I don't really want to do. Cutting these narrow slits in here would not be easy for me with the tools that I have. So probably what we're going to do instead is make this frame work with this keyboard plate. So we'll actually have to probably cut these off, because if you set the keyboard down on top of that, it's too high up. It doesn't engage properly with the ratchet mechanism. So these will have to come off, and we'll have to make pieces of steel that will probably bolt on here and then have screw holes in. We can maybe solder them on or something. Anyway, we'll have to make some kind of piece to go along the corners there that we can attach to this chassis, and then that will have a screw hole in to screw the keyboard down. So yeah, I didn't see that at first, but we're going to have to do that before we can test with the keyboard. So that will be the next step. But yeah, actually pretty glad to get this back together. And that wasn't actually as bad as I thought it might be. It still took a while and was still inconvenient, but I think I eventually got there. Okay, so as you can see, I've got two cross corners, two of the tabs that I made installed and got the keyboard screwed down to them. Technically I have three, but I messed up this one, so you can see, or maybe you can't see, but the hole here is almost right at the edge of the tab. So that one I foolishly just tried to eyeball it off of the old frame and just was really way out. So there is a slight problem though, and that is apparently the thickness of the, I just used this real thin steel. You can see this is what I cut out for this corner that I haven't made yet. So it's just this real thin steel, but that thickness is enough that it lifted up the keyboard somewhat. So you can see how this corner, there's that much play in it. And that is up high enough that the way that it is, when you push a key, it does not advance the keyboard because the ratchet mechanism, which is attached to the bottom of this, doesn't drop low enough to ratchet over one position on the pegboard. However, if you hold this keyboard down, actually I probably should have reinstalled this pointer so you could see it moving, but so you can hear it. So if you hold this down, it does enter, and then this clears it out. So we can do like 1, 2, 3. There's the 3 keys still stuck. That entered 9, 2, 3 for some reason. Let's try that again. Blank crank, and then the total key, which I think is this one. No, that's not doing anything. There it goes. So that is somewhat sticky, so you didn't go down all the way, and even now it didn't pop up. So there's a little bit of issue there. However, when you push it down far enough, it does actually work. As you can see, it cleared out. So let's try this here. We want one key is somewhat messed up too. 2, 3. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Can you see that? I think you can see it now. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. That one didn't advance. 4, 3, 2, 1. So there you go. 3, 3, 0. It added it in. Obviously, there's still a couple of issues have to be worked through here, but it can be made to function. Do a blank crank, and then this pull out just to get released. But definitely progress. So I think what I'm going to do for this corner is instead of, so I did with these, I basically made like wraparound tabs. So if we look here, you can see the steel wraps around the post that sticks up and then is folded over the top. And apparently that thickness of the steel there is just high enough, you can see the screw there through it, it's just high enough that it knocks out the alignment of the ratchet mechanism just enough that it won't ratchet forward. So I think what I'm going to do for this one is instead of folding the tab over the top, I'm going to put the main body in here on the inside and have the tabs fold around the back, and then just bend the tab over, and then hopefully that will be sufficient to hold this corner down where it needs to be for the ratchet mechanism to work. And then once that's addressed, I still have to address the 1 key being difficult, the total key being difficult, and the 3 key being difficult. And hopefully, once that's addressed, I probably have to, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this corner, because if I hold this down, then this corner lifts up. And if you hold both of them down, I'm not sure what that would do. Does that make my 1 key any more useful? Oh, it does. Not really. Now it doesn't want to action at all. So, yeah, not quite sure what I'm going to do about that, but if I hold both of them down. So the one key works, nothing else wants to work. So yeah, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do there, whether just bolt this corner down and leave this one up, or what, because if I clear this out now, now the one key worked. I don't know. I'll have to figure out what's going on, but I assume the one key is working, so I don't know. All I want to do is do this corner, see how it performs after that, and then from there address the individual sticky keys as needed. See, the 0 work? If you push it hard enough, yes. So will this ever be perfect? I don't know. Might have to live with just pushing some of the keys, you know, a little bit harder than you'd be used to, but we'll see how it turns out. You know, we're kind of, this is like a hack on top of a hack, so yeah, we'll see how it comes out. Okay, so I got this back corner bolted down, and now, so starting with a 9 here. What the deal is with that? Almost, I wonder if this is not pushing down all the way. Interesting going on there. Let's try. Do a right crank first. I mean, total key still sticks, but. Well. So something going on there. Let's try 1, 2, 3. No, we're still getting a 9. So something's up with the 1 key not hitting its peg for some reason. Oops. Pushed a little too hard on the handle there. Yeah, the total key popped back up though. Let's see, the keyboard is still locked, so something is going on there. So 1, 2, 3. Alright, so now, I pushed the 1 key down harder, so something about the chicken to why it's not activating its peg properly. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Fortunately, there's a bit of force to activate it. 3, 2, 1. 1 does 2 sometimes. But that is correct. 3, 3, 0. Hopefully you can see that there. Somehow the 3 key just started working. This key was stuck before, but oh no, it still gets stuck sometimes, but magically started performing better, so I don't know what happened there. 0 key. The pegboard sometimes gets a little bit stuck. So let's try subtotal, which I did blank card first, right? Subtotal. Didn't go all the way home, so still sticky with the control keys. And then the keyboard doesn't unlock after a control key operation, so still a few issues, but definitely getting better. Not quite sure what exactly is stopping the keyboard from unlocking. So the keyboard lock should be this right here. Okay, so this just got, oops, can't even see what I'm doing. This here can swing forward to lock the keyboard, like that. So just the whole thing's a little bit stiff. So when this piece swings forward, see how the little tab there is underneath the head of that screw? That's the keyboard lock. So now the keys are locked. To release, this pops back. Now you can see that can move forward. So that's getting stuck somehow. So I have to figure that out. Let's figure out why the, let's try repeat. So if I do like 25, if repeat down, no, it's still cleared. So repeat's not working either. I have to see what's up with that. And the control keys are not releasing. So I wonder if the keyboard lock and the control key not releasing are part of the same issue, so I'll have to look into that next. Alright, so I reinstalled the 1 and the 4 key, because those are the ones you have to push the hardest. I think the issue we were addressing was this here. Oops, getting stuck. So all I did was I took it out, I took this piece out and filed the end down a little bit. I don't know what exactly the issue was. I thought maybe the bottom of this had gotten bent up somewhat, and so therefore it was too close to that pin. But if I try bending this down, then it was down too far, and the keys, like the 1 key and the 3 key, would then start to fall out of their positions in the bottom plate. So couldn't do any adjustment as far as bending this plate down to make that level lower. So I just took it out and filed it. Obviously this machine is not going to be anywhere near perfect. It's just, basically putting two machines together that aren't made to go together. Just trying to see if we can get something to be functional. So, yeah. Anyway, the 1 key you have to push down pretty hard because, I don't know if it's because this corner is up or what, but it doesn't always push the pegs down all the way. So if you push it down hard, 3 key is getting sticky again somehow. Come on. So you got 1, 2, 3, and then you've got to push the 4 key. See how the 4 key come out of its hole in the bottom again. I don't know what's up with that. So even now, the bottom is not up high enough because the 4 key fell out of its hole in the bottom. Sure, you'll be able to see, but you can see it. So I've got to wiggle this back over, so now it popped back in, so now we can push it. 4, 5, this is getting sticky now. Not sure what's up with that. 7, 8, 9. So now the pegboard is getting sticky for some reason. It was fine before, but now it's not wanting to slide over, so I'll figure that out. 9, 8, see that? 7, so we see now it's getting sticky somehow. 6, 5, gotta push 4 pretty hard. 3, 2, 1. And there we go, 3, 0, do a blank crank, push the total key, and it clears out and it resets now that I fixed that from sticking, so now we can go ahead and continue entering if the pegboard would function. So now I've got to figure out why the pegboard is getting stuck and not wanting to slide over. As far as these keys being difficult, I don't really know that there's much that I can do about it. I'm not really sure why they're being difficult. The way that this works is the piece that this goes under, see that little screw there? That is the end of the ratcheting mechanism. So if I move this whole bar down, see that ratchets the pegboard over. And of course each key has part of the key piece on the bottom pushes that bar down to advance the pegboard one position at the same time as pushing the peg on the pegboard. Why these keys over here are being a problem, I really don't know. You'd think that if it was an issue with this being up too far, then all the keys would have that problem. But it's just those two for some reason. So I'm really not sure, I don't know what these two keys would have in common, and then 7 is fine. 7 has no issues at all. So what these two keys have in common that doesn't seem to affect any of the other keys. And you think if it was an issue with the bottom of the keyboard being up too high, then 0, 2, and 3 would also have the problem. But as far as I can tell, they really don't seem to. Because if the bottom of the keyboard was up too high, and that's why 1 and 4 were not pushing the peg down, then 0, 2, and 3 would also have the same problem, all the way up to 4. but they don't. It's just 1 and 4. And as far as why these two can't push the bar down far enough to advance the ratchet, that really doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what the deal is there. Could be, parts of this have been distorted. I really don't know. Because the whole thing was taken apart, and then I put it back together, and the person that sent this also tried putting it back together. So, maybe during that process something got a little bit distorted. I really don't know. I think it's not worth putting that much effort into making these be perfect because the machine's not going to be perfect. I think I'm just going to put this back together to a point where it can be made to function, and we'll just call it a video. I don't think it's worth putting a huge deal more effort into this with the other issues like this being not right. But anyway, and then this is being difficult. That I have to look into. But at least the function key. Oh, let's see if repeat works now. I didn't try that. No, repeat doesn't work. So I have to look into that too. Why repeat's not working. Let's see if subtotal works. Yep. The subtotal and total work now, so that's good. The rest of the keys can be made to work. Just got to push 1 and 4 a little bit harder. And I still have to adjust why this is now not wanting to slide over properly. Alright, so in the end I did decide to remove and redo these other 3 tabs here. You can see this is the old one that I made. I think this one might have been here, not sure. Anyway, you can see how this one, the tab is folded over top of the peg, while on the new ones, it's kind of hard to tell because there's a layer of solder, a thin layer of solder coating it, but the tab is not over top of the peg. The top of the peg is right here, and you can just kind of see a little gap there that's filled with solder, but this was right up against that. So now the bottom of the keyboard should be resting directly on those. So let's see if we pop this in here. Pop in like that, and this has to lift up for that little thing to slide in there. And most of the holes line up. I only had that when I did this. I only had this top corner screwed in because there was nothing else to screw it into. So then I want to drill this one, and then I want to drill the other two. This one at the bottom is a little bit off. I'll just kind of fudge it to work because like I said, this one was already done. Then I drilled this one next, and then I should have put a screw in here before continuing, but I didn't. So that's why this one is a little bit off. I think it drifted a little bit, but we'll see. So and I just have these 2 screws. I have to find the other 2. So I should reset. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, so far so good. What happened to my handle here? Now I'll have to make sure if it works like this, I'll have to make sure that it's still going to work once we screw this down, because it's still up a little bit. So I don't know whether this top plate is bent somewhat or whether the frame has slightly different dimensions between the version this was made for and this version. I don't really know what exactly the deal is. It's a little bit better than it was, but it's still up somewhat, so I don't know. Anyway, let's just see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, got stuck on something. What are we stuck on here? Alright. I have to figure out why this thing randomly decided to jam. Well, it was looking good for a little bit. Not anymore. It's interesting. That's a hard jam, whatever it is. Alright, let me play with that for a little bit. Alright, so the issue was over here. How should we be able to see real well? This piece here rocks up and down, and it's supposed to push, when it's rocked all the way up, it's supposed to push this piece back, which is the printer stamper. So when this is down and out of the way, it's non-print. When this is up, it's supposed to engage and print. And what happened was, you can kind of see how there's a little cutout there. The cutout is what's supposed to, so I think it should be up somewhat, so I'm not quite sure if there's something else going on or not. But the cutout there is what's supposed to actually hit that and push it. But what had happened was it was stuck on the end of the peg, and because of that, you couldn't pull the handle all the way down because it was jammed in this, because the peg was hitting it, it wasn't letting this go all the way back, which basically jammed the machine. So you couldn't pull the handle all the way down to release the ratchet at the end of the stroke to return, because this here had hit that. So I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look at that, whether this is all the way engaged or not. I'm actually not sure what controls non-print on this machine. I don't know if it has that. So I'll have to check that, but let's try it again. So I think that last time we entered 4, 5, 6. So let's try 7, 8, 9. Okay, yeah, now it's doing the same thing. That lever is not working all of a sudden. I'll have to look into that. So you can see here how just the peg is pushing that. So you can't move the machine all the way forward. So what you kind of have to do is pop this, well, pop it like that. So see how that's how it's supposed to be engaged, right in the groove there. And now when it's like that, you can pull the handle full stroke and it returns. So something, you know, let's leave it in non-print for now. We'll address that later. Let's just see if we can get through the calculation. So that was 7, 8, 9. So let's do 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3, 2, 1. And that is not correct. So either I mistyped something or something else is going wrong here. So let's figure it out. Try it again. 1, 2, 3. So that entered properly. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now it works. So maybe because it got jammed, it messed up somehow. Maybe I got confused and entered the wrong thing. I don't know. Anyway, that looks good. I didn't have to jam any of the keys, so that's a good sign. That should latch. That should clear. It did not clear. Why is that? There it goes. It didn't latch all the way. And then you can continue on. Okay, maybe we're getting somewhere now. So I still have to screw down these bottom two corners and hopefully that doesn't mess anything up. And I have to address the issue with print versus non-print. So I think that this thing is just not rocking up all the way or something. I'm not quite sure what's supposed to activate that. Let's take a look at the bottom here. So we can see what's going on. So this piece here rocks. Okay, so this would be that thing on the other side, I guess. This is kind of loose, but so is that one. So I don't think that looseness is the issue. So a couple of things could be at fault here. One is this could maybe not be rocking up high enough. Two is this lever could be bent in some way. I'm not sure that would be the case or not. I can't really, this one on the other side, you can't really see what the end of it looks like. And it's kind of buried. So, Yeah, I don't think it's an issue with the looseness because this one is also pretty loose. And I don't think this one had the issue because I only had to pop it up on this one. So let me take a look. Maybe I can just bend that finger up somehow or something. Not quite sure what the deal is with that. It's weird. And I don't know if it didn't happen before because it was always a non-print and then somehow it got flipped to print. I don't really know. Like I said, I'm not even sure what's supposed to actuate this either. Like I don't see any levers or anything this is attached to, so. Oh, I see. It's this thing. I think. Maybe? Oh, this is messed up. This says non-print here, but it's not engaged with this at all. Alright, okay. I'm going to take a look at what might have happened there, because that can't be right. When you push non-print, it's like trying to engage the thing. When you push it the other way, it just has a hard stop there. So yeah, something's not. I wonder. No, something's wrong there. Let me take a look at that. No, so I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. I don't think you. Well, maybe you will. But all the way down, can you see that peg right there? Probably not. Oh, come on. See that peg right there that I'm poking? That is attached to the end of this non-print lever, so you can see where that moves. And there's a fork that that peg was supposed to go on, and somehow it came out. I have no idea how. I just had to kind of put a screwdriver down here and kind of shove the fork down enough to get the peg to pop back in. And you can see now on the side that it's engaging and disengaging properly. So this would be non-print, so see how that doesn't move this down to stamp. And this would be print. And it seems to be working. It sounded locked up, I just didn't push the lever down all the way, at least a little bit too early, that's why it locked up a couple times. But seems to be working, so I don't know if like maybe what was happening was when you pulled the handle, because this had no lock in it, it would drift down, and that's what was causing it to get misaligned. I don't really know, but seems okay now, so we'll just go with that. I have no idea why this didn't present earlier, and I have no idea how this popped out, because it took quite a bit of force to push that fork down far enough to get this to pop back in, so yeah, no idea what happened there. Well, yeah, as far as, if you remember before we had an issue with this not wanting to slide over, I think that somehow this bar in the front got bent a little bit, because I just loosened up the screw on this side and rotated it a little bit, and tightened it back down, and then it seems fine. And why it was intermittent like that, I really don't know. I don't think that bar was turning on its own, so that's kind of weird. So, anyway, yeah, I just gotta put these two screws back in. Hopefully that doesn't mess anything else up. Oh, and I have to test repeat too. So see if, now that this is down further, see if repeat wants to work any better. So I'll lock that down in. Yeah, now it works. See, now we're repeating. So yeah, and if I pop this back up, and I push it down far enough, which seems to be my issue now, not pushing it down all the way. Yeah, it seems to work. So right crank and then pull it out. Twiddle key still needs a little bit of force to push that down, so I don't know about that. I mean, it might be fine when you put the keycap on, you probably might not notice it, because it's not like a huge amount, it's just a little bit more than the regular keys. So I don't think I'm going to worry too much about that. It does seem to work fine. You can try this again. 25, repeat. It's not pushing it down all the way sometimes. Yeah, that seems to work. So yeah, blank crank and then total. Yep. All right, good. We can try a subtotal too. Maybe also the issue because this thing is moving around too. Let's try. Oh, I got to do blank crank first, and then subtotal. Yep. Total. Okay, I think I'm going to be satisfied with that, assuming that these two screws don't mess anything up. And then we'll put it back together. I still have to bend this down, and I don't know if the ribbon doesn't look like it's going to be any good, so probably have to find, it's also kind of sticky. That's supposed to slide up and down for red and black. They've just had a black ribbon in there, so, do I have any paper? We can just see if the ribbon's any good. I don't think that it is. Let's just see if we can load something up real quick here. That's incredibly crooked. And actually, it looks like this something's messed up with this. This is not grabbing the paper at all. Unless this is, yeah, something's weird there. That's not grabbing the paper. The ribbon's not tight. So I'm going to have to take a look into that. Something seems a bit off. Let's just try. Stupid 3 keys. Yeah, that's not putting anything at all. Come on. Why is it doing that? Almost seems like an issue with the ribbon. When the ribbon is tight, it doesn't want to. Oh, the ribbon just broke. Alright, so it needs a new ribbon. That's for sure. The whole thing comes out. Let's see if it cooperates now. Alright, so that with it sticking must have been some issue with the ribbon. And that crack was just a piece of dirt or a screw or something that was trapped under the machine when I pulled it. That's all that was. Okay, so new ribbon is needed, and I'll have to check out the ribbon advancement mechanism. That seemed like it was kind of jamming something up a little bit there. And then I still have to bend the frame back into shape, but that hopefully shouldn't be too bad. I did glue the cover, though I'll have to steal the glass window out of my other cover because the glass one is missing out of here. That's not a big deal. So yeah, next thing is ribbon and see if we can get this thing to print. And if we can, hopefully we'll be done after forever. Alright, so I started working with the ribbon, as you can see, and came upon an issue with the auto-reversing mechanism, which is this sort of contraption I have here, which is just falling apart in my hands, and I don't know where anything goes, so I have to figure that out. Anyway, the reversing mechanism employs this piece. As you can see, snaps in the two positions. And this little finger here has this hole in the middle where the main ribbon shaft goes through. And it was seized, you can kind of see the brown spot there. It was seized to that shaft, and so therefore would not reverse. It was just basically locked to drive the ribbon only in one direction. So I managed to tap that shaft out, so I have to clean that up and clean the shaft up. I got a couple plywood marks on there, so I have to clean those off. Not that it's a big deal because it's just where the bobbin for the ribbon rides, so it's not really going to affect anything. These are not like a tight fit on that or anything. So anyway, I'll clean that up and then figure out, and the spring fell off there. That's nice. So it just goes right on that. Then figure out how this goes back together then. So yeah. It's just the way this machine's going. Every single thing is going to be a fight. As soon as we think we're getting ready to put it back together, then the ribbon mechanism doesn't work. Alright, so now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but if I hold the ribbon assembly, and then this is the ratcheting piece here. So this hole here goes on a peg that moves, and you can see now the bottom one is ratcheting it up. And if I flip this, now the top one's ratcheting it up. So that should be the ribbon auto reverse. And hopefully I can just drop this back in now. So probably what was happening before. Why is this not wanting to drop in properly? There's a random spring there, I'm not sure what that's about. Anyway, this should theoretically just drop right back in. Now it's hitting the non-print lever. It should go behind that. There, I guess that's in. It does look a little, it's a little lopsided, I don't know. Yes, I don't know. It does seem funny, the bottom ribbon, it seems like it wants to take up any. Oh, probably because I have it ratcheting in top mode, so that's why that won't take up, because this is locked. Duh. Okay, anyway, I've been fighting with this machine for a while, so get some of the red ink off my hands and give this a test run. Some paper here. Oh, there's something else out there just too. The fact that this assembly doesn't seem to want to grab paper at all. That's the paper is not. Anyway, let's just enter something random. That's nice. Okay, it prints now. That's good. Yeah, what am I doing? Let me try something else. And then I probably didn't push the handle quite as hard that time, that's why. Yeah, okay. I did that again. Not sure if that's the ribbon. It has to be that, because it didn't do it when that wasn't in there. So I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that. That's weird. So something's up with the ribbon assembly, I would say. Well, it seems to work okay when you go slowly. Maybe not. This is the because it didn't seem to have the problem. I'll have to take a look at that. Not sure what the deal is with that. Okay, progress now. What about the locking issue, where you can see the paper is now advancing. It's not printing over top of itself. So, a couple of issues there. You can see the back here. So, the issue with the paper not advancing was this piece of metal here has a cutout way under there that has another roller in it, and that was not putting enough pressure on the big roller so that when the big roller was turning, it wasn't pinching the paper hard enough to move it. And that was caused, that lack of tension was caused by damage to this plate. You can see it's still kind of distorted. I'm assuming caused by whatever damage happened to the back of the machine. So that was bent out of shape, and because of that, it wasn't exerting enough pressure because these two screws here are attached to springs, and then this lever here, you can see how it pops that plate out. So this just rocks up. Normally the lever is down here, and then when you push it, it rides out the back of this plate and rocks the whole plate back. So if this plate is bent out of shape and pushing too hard against that lever, it lifts the roller off the other roller, and that's what had happened. So I just kind of beat this back into shape a little bit, so now it's exerting enough pressure. And then once that was resolved, another issue occurred where when the see, because this moves like that. Well, it's supposed to anyway. And when that happens, it's supposed to spring back, see? And the spring back action, when it does, it's getting a little difficult now for some reason, but the spring back action, you can see over here, when it springs back, this ratchet pulls, it's supposed to pull the roll. I'm not sure why now it's getting stuck, but it was working before. The issue was that was not happening because this ratchet was sliding over and getting stuck behind the wheel and not properly engaging with the ratchet teeth. So to rectify that, I just stuck a washer behind here. It's not pretty, but it mostly seems to work. This was working reliably before. I don't know why it's getting kind of stuck now, but sometimes it's a little bit questionable. I'll have to see how that goes, but most of the time it does. Yeah, so it only gets a little bit stuck there, so there might be something a bit bent yet. We'll have to see. I don't know. Anyway, it seems to work most of the time. I'm not sure. Unless the whatever damage happened to that gear actually bent this pattern, and that's why it gets stuck some of the times. Wouldn't really surprise me, so I'll have to see how that goes. Anyway, so still the issue with it getting stuck, and I'm thinking that might be due to a weak spring on this piece. You can see it is a pretty weak spring on there. This is the ratchet. You can see here all the ratchet teeth on the main machine ratchet. That ensures that when you pull the handle, you have to pull it all the way to its stop before it can go back. So that ratchets through each of these teeth, and then when it gets to the end, it is supposed to flip the other direction and then ratchet the other direction, so that you have to make so that the handle has to return all the way to its home position before you can pull it forward again. So I'm wondering if maybe the spring on here is just a little too weak. So I'm going to try tensioning that a little bit more and see if that helps the sticking issue at the end of the stroke. Alright, so usually as soon as you put the case back on, something breaks. So let's give this a test here. Check out the keys back on. The screws holding the chassis to the base plate and the case to the base plate are kind of a mixture. The screws that came with this machine, seems like there weren't enough of any one kind to do anything, so I pulled some. You can see I got some extras here from the old machine. So some of the screws holding it together are from this machine, from this machine, and some of them are from the machine we took the keyboard out of. So anyway, it's held together. So let's see. And we're still doing that. Whatever. I did try and adjust the springs, so I don't know what the deal is there. Maybe the spring popped off. I don't know. At this point, I'm not going to worry about it. Well, maybe we'll worry about it. See what I mean? As soon as you put it back together, something breaks. See if I can poke that stupid ratchet thing. At this point, I'm probably just going to take the spring out of it because this is not going to do anything because I can't get the case open because this is... So what I'm going to do, I think, is just Get rid of that ratchet altogether. There we go. And that will solve the problem. Now the only issue with that is you have to make sure you pull the handle all the way forward and make sure that you let it go all the way back before you start the next cycle. That's just a fail-safe, kind of like user error preventer type thing. The machine will still work like that, so I can still go, where was I? I think we were down to this. Well, it should have. I don't think it added anything. Why is that happening now? Well, the machine should work without that in. Now it looks like we're not adding anything at all. Oh, there it went. Let's try that again. Stupid thing. Not by adding anything. What gives? Okay. Now something is really messed up. What is going on here? See what I mean? As soon as you put it back together, like before it was working perfectly fine, we could add total, everything was working. As soon as you put the covers back on, it doesn't work. And the 3 key's sticking again. So that added in. That didn't quite add in. I don't think that added in. No, it's not adding in properly. That didn't add in at all. But the register is not dropping at the appropriate time or something. So that didn't total. Not total, the total key didn't release. See, the register is not engaging properly. Subtotal key messed up? No. I don't know what works actually. I don't add at all. Sometimes it adds, but that time didn't add at all. That time it did. Didn't add at all. Oh, this thing is kind of messed up too. I wonder if that's related. No. Yeah, this thing, oh, that's because it got wrapped up around itself. That's why it's messed up. Like that. No, it's just messed up. It's just messed up. For some reason, it does not want to. Yeah, whatever. Yep, that won't add. Or if it's jammed like that, can you add properly? It won't add. That time it did. But the register won't stay engaged for some reason. Yeah, the register keeps disengaging. That time it did. There it went. Alright, so that time I went through a complete cycle, but there's something weird now with the register popping out of engagement for some reason. And also this thing is still messed up. I don't know why. Yeah, see the register keeps popping out of engagement. Yep, that's what it's doing. Okay, I think we're gonna be done with this, honestly. I spent way too much time on this, and like I said, as soon as you put the covers back on, it stops working. So, I'm kind of getting tired of this. Anyway, hope this video was at least somewhat useful in seeing a good deal about how these machines work. Yeah, as far as why that register does not want to stay engaged. Very strange. See, you can see it pop up. I don't know if it shows in the camera, but it pops up out of engagement and doesn't want to stay engaged. And it has nothing to do with the ratchet thing back here, because that's just the ratchet. That doesn't actuate anything else. So it's very strange. Very, very strange. But if you go slow enough, then it stays engaged. Yeah, there's something wrong there. Didn't do anything. There it went. So that one's slower, stay engaged. That one's slower, stay engaged. I don't think it has anything to do with this thing disengaged. I don't think it would. That time I almost wanted to disengage. Oh, just for fun, let me put this on non-print and see if that makes any difference. Yep. How about that? I think I messed up, but... So as soon as I put it on non-print, now it looks fine. No, it doesn't. No, it's still messed up. So I put it on non-print, now it adds fine, but total, oops, total is still, oh, that's how it worked. I don't know. So that kind of went through fine, see if total works, yeah, non-total works. So I don't know if that's, it doesn't make any sense to me that that would have anything to do with the print mechanism. Well, the print mechanism is still messed up. So, whatever. I guess it's usable as a non-print. You can see the results there. So it's just an adding machine non-printing, I guess, whatever. I'm not going to put any more effort into this. I think I've put enough already. And I guess we have something that's partially functional. Mostly seems to add and usually seems to total, whatever. Anyway, like I was saying, I hope at least, even though we didn't quite get it working fully, I hope at least this gave some insight into how this machine works. I know on the other one, before we kind of wrote that off, we went through the releases on the bottom of the risers and I think we took apart the carry trip mechanism and all that kind of stuff was all sticky. So I hope at least they gave some kind of insight into how these are built and how they work. And what might cause what problem. Based on this, it almost seems like if the printer gets jammed, it doesn't want to add, I don't know, whatever. As far as the printer, that's just, tweaked somehow, or something's been out of shape and not working properly. Like I said, I tried to bend it back to get it to advance the paper, but now it's sticking, so that's just going to be, tweak a little bit, doesn't work, tweak it back, doesn't work, and keep going like that for hours probably. So I'm not really interested in doing that. Also, I mentioned I left the screw out of this corner. I tried putting it in, and then the pegboard wouldn't advance at all. You'd push a key, nothing happens. So rather than try and do something about that, I just left it out. Either the frame is bent, or this key plate is bent, or there's some incompatibility with this key plate to this frame, something. But once you start trying to bend this to work, then then other things get messed up, and you have to try to bend a little bit the other way, and then that just gets way out of proportion real fast. So rather than try and go through that, I just left it out. And it's not like it really needs, like, it's gonna be fine without that. I'm not worried about it at all. It's got the other 3 screws in, and this is downward force, so really not too worried about that. So it's still messed up. It's still messed up. Okay, maybe I wasn't pulling the handle down all the way. I don't know. Whatever. Nah, that didn't work. Whatever. It is what it is. I was really hoping this would kind of come back, but looks like it's going to need quite a bit more effort to try and get the printer working, and then diagnose why the register, as soon as you put the covers back on, now the register doesn't engage properly. So, whatever. Hope at least you got something out of this video, and thank you for watching.